Welcome into our professional development session for today. We're talking about how to develop a strategic plan for your nonprofit. This is going to be an interesting session because I know that a lot of people have their internal perspectives about what they believe, a strategic plan, how it should go, etc. I want to share some thoughts with you that's going to help you on your journey. My goal is to help you simplify your approach to developing plans for your various programs. At the end of the day, it's important for all of us, whether you're on Clubhouse, whether you are listening elsewhere on Zoom, or wherever, for you to embrace some principles around planning. Now, by a show of hands on Zoom and on Clubhouse, how many people feel like they have a solid planning approach down? They understand how to develop solid plans for their programs. By a show of hands, you can raise your digital hand or your real hand in Zoom, and then on Clubhouse, you can raise your hand by a show of hands. How many people feel like they have a solid plan down in place? They have a solid foundation infrastructure. Okay, no one raises their hand in Clubhouse and Zoom. That's really interesting. Okay, so I'm not going to go into extreme detail because that's for a different situation and time. I want to leave you with some principles to help you frame out how to put together your thoughts around planning, how to organize your thoughts, how to structure this process. And so that's my goal for today. I'll go through this teaching, then I'll open the floor for questions for Q&A. We'll figure out how to share sound. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. We'll figure it out. But we'll figure out how to share sound with each other, and then we'll go from there. All right? Now, the reason why we're having this conversation is because planning is important and it's essential to everything that you do. Now, for everything that I have going on professionally, even personally, but we'll keep it professional, it's important for me to have plans in place for everything that is happening. I struggle with moving forward with any projects when there is no plan in place. The reason why this is important is because when you start to lead teams and lead teams of teams, when you start to build an infrastructure or a system that is designed to function without you and outside of you, it can become very difficult and very taxing to develop, to grow your program, to grow your offerings to the community without a structured approach to the journey. It's very difficult to build a program. It's very difficult to build something that's fundable. It's very difficult to grow anything without a plan or some sort of action steps that you're going to take to get from point A to point B. It's difficult because the lack of organization, the lack of structure, the lack of continuity will always do you in. It will do your teams in. It will do your programs in. It will cause you to stumble and bumble every chance you get. So you need a plan. Think about this. Many of you are leading teams or are building teams or have aspirations of doing so in some capacity, but think about how dysfunctional your team is without a plan. All right? If we have a plan to go from here where we are to the zoo, and we ask everyone what's the directions or how we're going to get there, it's guaranteed we're going to get a bunch of different directions because everybody thinks they have the best route to get from point A to point B, as opposed to everyone getting on board with the person who's driving the car, the person who's driving the van, the person who's driving the bus. It's more important for that person to select the best route to get everyone from point A to point B, as opposed to everyone having an opinion, a comment on how we should get there, which route we should take. We shouldn't leave at this time because there's traffic. There's going to be this and that in the road, so on and so forth. Y'all relate to that example? Yes? No? Maybe so? You ever been on a road trip with your family and everybody has an opinion on how we should get from here to the family vacation spot? Everybody has an opinion, right? And there's a 50-50 shot that you'll be accurate. It's a 50-50 shot that you'll actually be on point with your opinion. But the opinion that matters most is the person you're driving. Here's the other scenario around this situation. You're driving a car and you got everybody in the back seat. Let's say you have a van and you got the whole family in the back seat. And let's be more specific. You have adults in the van and you're driving down the road, having a good old time by yourself, just staying focused, looking out for any hazards that may be in the road. And you get this, you get this particular. How do I want to say this? You get to a certain point in the trip, and all the adults start to chime in about, hey, I know a faster way to get to our family destination. How about you take exit 36, and then from exit 36, I want you to curl around about 8 times on the roundabout. Then I want you to get on exit 355 going west, even though we're going south. But I want you to go west, and then about 20 miles down the road, then I want you to get off exit 2, which is going to take you back east. And then you're going to go about 25 miles, and then I want you to take exit 45 to go north. You ever had that happen to you while you're driving down the road and somebody tries to give you alternative directions, and the crazy part is they don't know what they're talking about, or the crazy part is you actually take that route and there's a detour? You ever been in that situation? Or is it just me? Y'all staring at me. And any people on Clubhouse can relate to that? We're going to raise your hand. I mean, think about this, man. There's always somebody in the back seat who has an opinion about something. And let's be honest about it. When that happens, it creates distractions. You become frustrated as the driver, the person who's responsible for everyone's safety and well-being and us getting to the location on time and in one piece. It's distracting when everyone has an opinion about which route we should take, especially while I'm driving there. To minimize the distractions, it's advisable that all passengers sit back in their seat, buckle up, and let the driver drive. For those of you that needed some summer advice for family interactions, there you go. Tell your family just to let you drive, right? That dysfunctional moment we described is what it's like to lead an organization without a plan. Or when you let too many people who don't know what they're doing be co-pilots with you when there's only one pilot. You need a plan. You're piloting this plane, you're driving this van, and you're taking your entire team from one point to the next. You need to know where you're going. And it doesn't mean you won't make mistakes. It doesn't mean you won't run into traffic. It doesn't mean you won't run into a massive traffic jam. It doesn't mean you won't get a flat tire every now and again. Still need a plan. Even when life is going to happen and try to derail you, you're still going to need a plan. Take a moment just to process before we move forward into today's teaching that, hey, I need a plan. Talk to yourself. Tell yourself that I need a plan. I need a plan. I need a plan. No matter how small the task is at my job, no matter how small the task is at my nonprofit that I'm building, no matter how small the task is for the business I'm developing, I need a plan. I need a plan. I need a plan. I need a plan. You need to repeat this to yourself over and over and over again. I need a plan. Where's the plan? Where's the plan? Where's the plan? Where's the plan? Without it, you run the risk of missing your destination, of getting there later than you expect to. There are 3 things I want to share with you today about how to develop a strategic plan. I want to share these 3 things with you, and from there we'll engage in a conversation between Zoom and Clubhouse, and we'll do our best to communicate between the 2 groups, because I want to answer questions about developing plans. The foundation of today's teaching is just acknowledging I need a plan. That's it. I need a plan. I'm not going to teach you the perfect way to doing it. I'm not going to teach you the only way of doing it. That's not the purpose of this particular session. My goal is to make sure you leave here knowing one thing and one thing only. For everything you do, you need a plan. So here's the first thing. When developing a strategic plan for your organization, you want to make sure you gather critical stakeholders in the room during the planning process. Gather critical stakeholders in the room during the planning process. This is by far one of the biggest mistakes a lot of leaders make because they sometimes develop these plans in vacuums and with a group of people who think like them, who associate information the way they do, who categorize information the same way they do. And here's the problem. You have a lot of yes people in the room who are not critical stakeholders. Who are critical stakeholders? These are people who have a vested interest in the success of your program, of your nonprofit, of your business, etc. It's essential that you have the right people in place. Well, doesn't my staff have an invested interest in the success of the nonprofit? No, not necessarily. What staff care about more than anything is paycheck continuity. They don't care as much about success of the program as they do about paycheck continuity. This is the reality when you're leading a team, building a nonprofit, building a business, setting up an infrastructure. You got to be real with what's going on. Your staff, not all members of your staff are critical stakeholders. Critical stakeholders, some exist internally. Typically, it's going to be your senior leadership folks. In some cases, your board. Some critical stakeholders are going to exist externally. These are partners. These are people who are looking to provide services similar to you or who are dependent upon the services you provide because they piggyback off of your services to do their service. So when you look at critical stakeholders, you got to do a critical analysis of who really cares about our success and why. Everyone cannot be invited to the party. However, you can't be at the party alone and dance by yourself. You need the right dance partner who's going to compliment you. So that's the first thing. You got to have gather the critical stakeholders for the planning process. Number two, you want to, when you start to gather the critical stakeholders in the room and start the process of planning, you want to think creatively and strategically at all times. The whole point of a strategic plan is to, watch this, think strategically. What's going to be the smartest step for us to take to move forward? What's the smartest step for us to take to navigate this situation or to solve this problem or to fix this scenario or to address this issue? In addition, you want to think creatively. You want to think outside the box. You want to be able to be strategic enough that you're not too off course, but you want to be creative enough so that you're in the realm of possibility, but thinking about things from a different lens or a different point of view. When you begin to think strategically and creatively, you begin to open the door for innovative funding opportunities that will make itself available to you. This is where you start to see funders chasing after you, throwing money after you, supporting your programs, because in your planning process, you not only showed your grounded competency in the work, you also show that, hey, we're not satisfied with the status quo. We're going to advance the work by taking the following steps forward. So first, you're going to think, you're going to gather critical stakeholders in the room. You're going to gather the right people in the room, the people that are going to help you the most. Second, you're going to think creatively and strategically during the planning process. And here's a technical piece. Here's a third step to all of this that I'm going to share with you. You want to answer the 5 strategy questions. You want to answer the 5 strategy questions. This process I'm about to share with you is much more in depth than I'm going to go into. So I'm not going to go too detailed into the 5 questions. It does require an objective point of view, someone who is objective, who is not necessarily tied to the process to help you think creatively and strategically and accurately about how you answer these questions. But I do want to share these 5 questions with you so that you can navigate these waters as best as you can. Here are the 5 strategic questions. Where are we right now? Where are we right now? Second is, where do we want to go? Where do we want to go? Third question, how do we get there? How do we get there? Number 4, what steps do we need to take to get there? What steps do we need to take to get there? And number five, how do we measure our progress? How do we measure our progress? If you answer these questions accurately, efficiently, creatively, and strategically, you have, ladies and gentlemen, in your possession the strong foundation of a strategic plan. From there, you can draft a more formal document that's shared with your board, that is shared with critical resources, people who are vested or invested in your success. And you now have a plan that you can share with your staff that can help formulate their approach to developing successful programs that are funded by funders